check that we're all in a happy focus here. I think so. Yay. Good morning, Crumbers. Good morning, world. Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, and Facebook group. We're just going to get started. As always, if you haven't joined us before, we just give everybody a couple of minutes to join, let all the media channels do their bits and pieces and give a ping out there. So, yeah, just give it a few minutes, but we're here. Say hello, let me know where you're from, what it's looking like out there. It's actually, after yesterday, which was atrocious here in the Cotswolds, it's beautiful blue skies and it feels warm, but it's probably a touch chilly out there, but it's absolutely beautiful. So good morning wherever you are, and good morning. Hey, morning Gina. Good morning. I hope you're well and everything's good. Yeah, you're first up this morning, so I think everybody might be that whole hour thing. If the kids have got you up like at 7 o'clock and it's not, and they could go back to bed, and you're having all of that sort of clocks go back sort of moment, you might be here, you might be peeping through some bleary eyes or whatever, but grab your coffee, which I've got, and in a couple of minutes we're gonna head on into a Halloween pumpkin cake. Because it is the last Sunday of October. Next Saturday is Halloween, so we're going to be doing a little bit of Halloween baking. Well, we're going to be doing a little bit of Halloween decorating today. We're not going to be baking, we're going to be making and icing and finishing off Halloween pumpkin cake that you could use as a centerpiece, or if you are able to gather with people, or you can just sit and eat it yourselves, or if you don't fancy carving a pumpkin, you can make this one instead, and that's what we're going to be doing. Gina says it was so confusing this morning. Yes, it was. I woke up naturally, I think around 7 o'clock, and I was like, what, has my phone changed time automatically? Yes. And then the kitchen clock, oh no, Ian's been down and changed the oven clock as well, so I haven't got totally confused, because that's always the one. And I get in my car and that says whatever it wants to say, to be quite honest. I don't think I've changed it since the clocks went forward, because I've hardly driven since we went into lockdown here. So very confusing, very confusing. But we can put all the time confusion aside, and we can do some fabulous Halloween cake decorating bits and pieces. So we're nearly there, we've got 30 seconds. So if you're joining us now, morning. I hope everybody's well. Let me know where you're from. If you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube or in the Facebook group, hello. If you're watching in the Facebook group, hi mum. And if you're watching on replay as well, because I know we've got a couple of people. Fiona is down in Australia and Pat is over in Canada. So time zones are all over the place. So if you're watching on replay, good morning. Right, 2, 1. Let's go. Where have we gone? This is our recipe. So chaps and chapesses, and good morning, Miss Tim's down there in beautiful Devon. I hope it's lovely and sunny for you as well. This morning, guys and gals, is our pumpkin cake that we're going to be decorating. I'm not going to be baking it because it does take a while to bake. So I prepared that all last night, and I have 2 cakes ready to go. But we're going to be going about how we then make our 2 chocolate cakes into this little dude here. And this guy I made a couple of years ago for my colleagues at work. This year, my colleagues aren't getting any, sadly, but Ian is. And my nephew last night said to me on FaceTime, please get Uncle Ian to save me a slice. Hopefully there's a slice that is left, otherwise I'll be in trouble with Vinnie Jack. But we are going to get into this guy, and he is a chocolate bundt. That's what I'm using, but you could use any other flavour if you want to. And inside is going to be bursting full of lots of trick or treat goodies in there. And he is actually really easy to make. This guy that you see, I actually iced with sugar paste. Now, you guys this week, when I polled the Facebook group, said buttercream was your preference, so we're going to be doing a buttercream cake today. But you can, if you want to, and you want to give it a go, you can decorate this guy with sugar paste all over the outside. We're going to be using sugar paste or fondant, because I know somebody asked what was sugar paste. We're going to be using that for the decoration, so his little stalk and his eyes and his nose and his mouth as well. And he's actually really easy, so don't panic. I'm going to do a whole sort of guided walkthrough, and there of course will be the blog post as well coming up. So he's going to serve the size that I've made, about 12 to 16 slices, but you can make it as a smaller bundt if you like. I'm going to show you what I baked him in. Let's take a look at our ingredients. For our ingredients for decorating the cake, we're just going to be using a standard buttercream, whipped buttercream recipe. So butter and icing sugar. You're also going to need a few bits and pieces. Sugar paste, which I've pre-coloured because you don't want to see me get that messy. We've got some black in here, and I've also got some green nestling somewhere. My butter is all cubed and room temperature, so nice and soft. And my icing sugar is all sifted. We've moved on to Tate and Lyle now, and I find that's compacted a bit more than the silver spoon, so I will sift that. So that's pre-sifted last night, so we don't get clouds of icing everywhere. You're also going to need some little food gels in my little pumpkin. I've got a orange one, a tangerine and a bright green. You can use ready coloured sugar paste as well. You're going to also want the orange to colour our buttercream. And again, you can get these in the supermarket or on Amazon, and we'll talk, as we usually do, a little bit more about those coming up. And then in my cauldron of stuff, we've got all sorts in here. We're going to add a little bit of vanilla bean paste into our buttercream. We've got some black and white hundreds and thousands, or spider's eggs, as somebody told me. We've got these. Now, I found these in Home Bargains a while back, but I know you can get them now in the supermarket. These are little sugar eyeballs. And if you can see those, they look like little newt eyeballs. And you can get them now in the supermarket or various places online. If you do get them in this packet, just pop it in a little container, because it's so flimsy, and every time I go in the cupboard I find eyes all over the place. We're going to be filling our bundt cake with lots of trick or treat goodies. So yesterday we raided our local co-op, and they've got some really cool stuff this year. It's all natural flavourings and all done with fruit, but we've got these are monster brains, which are cool. So we're going to pop them in there, and we've also got some strawberry zombie mummy eyeballs. Fantastic. And then I picked up some fantastics. I always thought these were Halloween ones, but they're not. They're the normal soury Tantastic. So nephew number one, Louis, would be all over those. And some caramel M&Ms. These are the crunchy ones for a little bit of autumn flavour. You can make an edible slime to go in there with like a custard again. A bit like we did with the donut chocolate last week. The more runny ganache. I thought we'd go a bit fun, because it's fun when you cut into these and then you get all the sweeties falling out all over the place. So that's there. Let's just say, hi Kim, good morning. I hope it's sunny with you as well. It is here. So this is our, that's our ingredients. For the cake, I am going to be doing a chocolate bundt cake next week. So, but a chocolate orange one, which will be very similar. So we'll be going through the ingredients for that. But when I put this post up, the full ingredients will be there as well. But I have, they're wrapped up in plastic wrap at the moment, 2 chocolate bundt cakes, sort of like here. So when they all go together, we've got our pumpkin. Now, the bundt cakes were made in this. Now, I bought this years ago when I was visiting friends in Menorca, and it's a silicone mold, and I've had it, and it was the first time I'd seen anything like this. And you can get these now on Amazon and eBay and all sorts of places, but it's like a ball. It's silicone, and it's got the hole in the top and then the core here. So you could use it just, and it clamps together, but you could just use the bottom as our bundt cake. And what happened yesterday is I actually made it in 2 halves. So I still baked it with the top on because it rises up a little bit, but ultimately each of those cakes you've just seen is this bottom half. I can, if I want to, put it all together and because it's got quite a good seal on it, and then fill it more through the hole, but actually it's just easier to do it as the 2 halves. You can use a regular bundt cake pan if you want to, and I'd use the one that like the 7-inch one that I use quite a lot. There's quite a few bundt recipes on the blog already using that, and it's a great little bake. I think I picked up in Aldi for a couple of quid a few years back, but you can get them on bakeware sites, eBay, Amazon as well, and things like that for about £3 or £4. But this is my pumpkin mold. If you, the other thing you can use, and I've got, is this, which was one that I had, I made a donut cake for someone, and this is a donut mold. I think this came from eBay. It's a bit more rounded, as you can see, and smooth, and a bit wider, but you could use that. And this has this little thing in the top when you put it on, but when it keeps this hollow, so you can put filling inside it as well. So you could use that, and if you then want to, just carve in the pumpkins on your cake. But we're going to be using, I have used my pumpkin mold, but you can use a regular bundt as well, which will give you a very similar effect. So let's bring that one in there. That's how I baked it, and these are the different things you can use. Let's just pop these aside now. Right. And then with other ingredients, we're going to be using the stand mixer for making our buttercream as always. And we've got a selection of goodies: palette knives, spoons, rolling pins, and a little sharp knife. So, let's get cracking, shall we? I'm going to move the sweets in the cauldron, 1, so I don't eat them, and 2, so it gives me a little bit of room. And we're going to get prepping. So, that's the thing with this kitchen. It's like the wrong space, but things are afoot. So, we're going to start whipping up our buttercream so we can then prep our cakes in the meantime. So we're just going to do as I normally do with the stand mixer buttercream. I'm going to pop just all my butter straight in here. This has been out overnight, so it's nice and soft. And I'm going to use the balloon whisk attachment to whip that butter up. So, always helps if you turn the electricity. So that's our first one going. And with the buttercream, as always, we want to get it nice and light and wet. And a bit like your eggs, we want to get it so it incorporates some air in there. So start it off and let it just sort of get the butter a bit pale and fluffy. Mine has all just now congealed inside the balloon whisk, so it will start moving out as it gets more wet. We're going to add our icing sugar then, a little bit at a time. And if you need to, it depends on how warm or soft the butter is, you might just want a little dash of milk in there as well. So I'm making about enough here would cover about 12 cupcakes. So it's 250 grams of butter to 500 of icing sugar. I'm just going to take that up a notch. And that's doing its thing. Just going to leave that for a moment. Right then. Yep. As your butter whips up and it's nice and soft, you'll see it going from that really yellowy colour and it will start paling, which means you're getting it more creamy than butter now. I don't know if you can see, but it has gone a lot paler in colour. So I'm just going to we're just going to scrape it off into our bowl. And there's quite a few recipes now on the blog and also on our on the kitchen live for different buttercreams. We're just going to be baking a standard vanilla one here because we've got quite a rich cake with all that chocolate and with all those sweeties in it. So this is the thing with the icing sugar is we've got quite a lot and it clouds up. So what we do is we give it quite a few spoons in there because otherwise we'll be here till next Christmas, not this year. And then just fold that back over. I'm just going to give it a helping hand in. Ugh. This is the one thing. It's like you need a facial afterwards if anybody's working with icing sugar because it all just billows up into your face. There we go. And I'm going to just add a touch of milk this morning, so about a teaspoon to start with. Because I don't want it to be too soft, but I want it to be soft enough for it to be able to be nice and spreadable on our cake when we get there. So let's clamp that back over. And I have forgot the vanilla paste because I have. Gina says, I could easily sit down, watch TV with a bowl of buttercream. Yes, I could. It's the one thing, if we've got any left over after Ian's cleaned the bowl and it goes in the fridge, because it keeps in the fridge you can keep it in there for a week or so. Or you can freeze it as well, but if there's any left over in the fridge, I'll come in the evening and I'll just see Ian sat there with a spoon and eating the buttercream from the fridge. Oh, Kim, I think you might have posted a picture or a GIF or something or somewhere because it doesn't come up on my little thing. So I will look on the Facebook in a minute on the page. Let's just pat this back on. So I've added the milk and I've scraped it all down. I'm just going to leave that going for the moment then. And with our cakes now, we're just going to, we're going to level them off because we want to film. So just take my knife, my sharp knife, get rid of this. You can use plastic wrap if you're making the cakes the night before. Plastic wrap or an airtight container, which we have none left of at the moment because they're all in use, just to keep your cakes sealed in for overnight. And it allows them just to stabilise a little bit as well before you start icing and decorating them. That's going well. I'm going to add a little bit more icing sugar in again now. Louise Tim says, oh yes, buttercream and chocolate straight from the fridge. And yes, definitely. But this does raise the question, and I know we've asked it on the page before, do you keep your chocolate in the fridge or not? Because I love a bar of dairy milk straight from the fridge. There's something, I know they've changed the dairy milk recipe, but there is something about Cadbury's dairy milk straight from the fridge. Straight from the fridge. Oh, Kim, it's a laughing pumpkin. I'll have a look at that when we get back to it in a moment. Fantastic. But yes, just back to the good old debate of pumpkin in the fridge, chocolate in the fridge, yay or nay. I am definitely, like I said, I love a bar of dairy milk straight from the fridge. Not dark chocolate, just a bar of dairy milk. And that's one thing. Whenever I go and visit my mum, they've always got chocolate in the fridge. And she knows, and my stepdad knows, it's the first place I'll look for anything in the house to eat. Right, let's keep going with that, spin it up. So, our chocolate cakes then, they're actually quite level. With this recipe, what we're using is plain flour and baking powder mix. But just going to move that around there. But they do need a slight level off. So I've got a very large knife. This is just a double-sided serrated knife, so it's a bread knife. Or you can use those cake leveler wires. I just always get in a mess with them. That's looking good. Just going to leave that for a moment whilst we level these off. Yeah, I'm going to use a big knife, but you can use a bread knife. You want a serrated one, not a smooth knife. Those cake wires that you see for leveling, a bit like cheese wires, you can use them. I just get in a muddle because I find they just tear the cake. So I've got a little bit more control as well with the knife. So there's all sorts of ways of putting cocktail sticks and using dental floss as well. He's a pumpkin, so he's probably not completely level. But what I want to do is just take off the crust that I can see there. So, and remember, I'm left-handed, so this is all a bit wonky. Please, please, please mind your hands when you do this. So Gina, Ian has offcuts as well as bowls to lick today. So we've just taken the top off there. And just test it. Sorry guys, I had to do that. And then I'm just dabbling the other one. This bundt cake recipe, which we'll be covering off next week, but making a chocolate orange version of it, uses sour cream in there to help keep it all nice and moist and smooth. And I've used the dark cocoa powder that we've used before, like the Oreo one, the intense one, to get that really deep dark colour there. So I'm just going to move the offcuts away for Ian when he gets home. And our knife. We're going to want the boards shortly, but not quite yet. Let's just go back and finish our buttercream off then as well. What does Louise say? Yes. The snap of the chocolate straight from the fridge. I agree. It's great. Oh, whilst we're talking chocolate, and I know we still have a week before Halloween, or just under a week. But after that, the C word is happening, whether you guys like it or not, because I've got a lot of bakes to share. But this week, talking about chocolate, I shared a link that's a video that somebody had done. You know, the chocolate Santas and the chocolate reindeers you can get. Somebody just putting one of them in a mug, and then what do? Pouring hot milk over the top, so you get like a Santa hot chocolate. I was like, that is genius, and it's probably been seen a million times before, but I was like, I love that idea. That's so cool. And I thought, do you know what would be really nice is like the lint reindeers that you can get in Santa's, but they did it with the Cadbury's one, so you can get penguins and white chocolate, like Milky Bar white chocolate polar bears if you like white chocolate. Great idea. So my buttercream is all coming together. I am just conscious and keep adding another teaspoon or so of milk, because I do want this to be nice and smooth for getting together. And I'm going to make all of this orange. We're just going to have all orange buttercream today. So what I am going to do before we go any further is remember to add the vanilla bean paste. I'm using this rather than the vanilla extract I made because I need to get rid of the this. So just a squeeze, about a teaspoon's worth of stuff there. And we're going to be making, it's obviously a pumpkin, so we want orange. So this is the Pro Gel Orange colour. And again, you just need a little bit in there. These are great. They'll give you a nice bright colour without adding any further liquid into your buttercream. He's looking a little on a pale pumpkin side, so we're going to add a little bit more. That's the beauty with these food gels, is you can control a bit more how bright they are. And we're not adding liquid. There's nothing funny in them. These are made by a UK company called Sugar Flare, and they're great. So I'm just going to give the bowl a scrape down, get everything in there. Pop that back on. Scrape the spatula onto the whisk. There we are. That's becoming a bit more orange now we've put lots in. Whilst we're just spinning that up. Morning, Amy. These are my pumpkins. They were brighter earlier, but they're from IKEA. I love them. I've had them a few years now. This is nearly there. I just want to say as well, if anyone's seen the Facebook stories or the Instagram stories, Amy made the Bailey's cheesecake this weekend, and it looks amazing. So, yay, go you! And also, I had a message from a lovely lady, one of my colleagues as well. Amy is another of my colleagues, Claire, who made the Malteser cheesecake. 30-minute thing, and it looks incredible. They both look fantastic. I have a little heart swell proud moment when I see them. Just gonna get this all there. You see, it's more orangey now. It's more a pumpkin colour. Let's just give it a final whisk through. good air. What's this? Tastes amazing too. Oh, I'm so pleased. It looked fantastic. It really did. Okay, Mr. KitchenAid. With our buttercream in there, I've got bowls with spoons in because I will end up getting orange everywhere if I'm not careful. But let's give that a scrape down. I'll show you guys. See, it's nice and orange now, so it's not that peachy colour. And that was just a good squeeze, not too much of the food gel, and it doesn't taint it either. That's the other thing. You're not going to get a tainted taste from it. So that's cool. Let's just get some space back, shall we? Pop you there. So then, we've got our buttercream and we've now got our 2 cakes that are ready to go. Let's move the milk so I don't spill it. Actually, let's put the milk. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start icing them and assembling. So you can do this just on a normal board or onto a cake thing if you want. If you've got anything like this at home, these are great. Now this actually is a marble Lazy Susan that my mum bought for me when I started the shop, so 10 years ago. I was like, why on earth are you buying me a Lazy Susan? I'm not the sort of person that has a dinner party with crudités in the middle. But she was like, no, it's great because it's got weight. So when you're decorating the cake, you've got a nice stable base for it to be on, and I can move it around. So you'll see cake turntables and all sorts, and they tilt and stuff. You know, it's not too high up, it's not too flimsy. So for things like this, if you've got something like these are great, a great idea. And things. I'm going to be putting it just onto my little cake stand anyway. So I am going to pop it onto a cake board to start with because it'll just be easier for me lifting it off here onto here later. Again, you don't have to. You could do it onto a cake board or a plate or anywhere where you're going to be serving your pumpkin or displaying it. This is easier for me to show you guys as well. So if you want to, you can pop a little cake board on. Now these are just the thin cake boards there. And I'm going to just help my cake secure itself. So I'm just going to take a little touch of the buttercream on the bottom of my board, and it just helps stick it in place. That's all it is. Now then, we've got our 2 cakes. If you want to, you could cut them again. I'm not going to. I'm going to leave them as they are and get something out that see. So yes, you can take them out and cut them down, but if you want to, but we're just going to have them as 2 things here. And if I'm going to decide which one, I'm going with this guy here is going to be on my bottom. So again, I'm just going to smooth over some buttercream onto my cake board. If you're using icing, like run out icing, roll out icing, you could do that as well there. This is going to be like the messiest one, I think. And just sit him on there. Now, with both of them, as you can see, there is a hole all the way through. You can use the cake offcuts depending on how much you've got, or take these down a little bit more to be able to shove that in the bottom. Or whilst you're baking it, if you take one extra as a little cupcake, you can do that as well. So that's what I have done. And I'm going to use the cupcake just to plug the bottom here and then to plug the top as well before we decorate it. So I'm going to just Let's move the board along a little bit. Oh, when I get a new kitchen, it'll be amazing. So I'm just going to cut it in half because I've done, and then quarter again. And push it in there. And I think I've got room for just a little bit more. There we go. It's just like a plug. If your bundt has overflown and you've got like some cover on the top, you can just take a little bit of that off. And actually, I'll show you a bit easier now. This is our sponge texture, so it's quite a springy thing. It's not really light and fluffy. Okie doke. See you later, Kim. Have a lovely day. It's because it's the bundt cake. We don't want it too soft because if you are doing it and you need to carve it or anything, you don't want it to be too soft because it will all just fall to pieces. So using the bundt recipe that we're going to be doing next week actually gives it a little bit of stability. It's still nice and soft. It still tastes amazing, but it just gives you a little bit more of more structure to your cake than having anything too soft. And we will cover it off next week. Things like what flour to use. You want to be using a plain flour with the rising agent of baking powder and baking bicarb of soda, just again because it will give your cake some structure. We're not adding too much in by using self-raising flour or cake flour, which is really fine and gives a really softness. So using this recipe is perfect. But we'll talk about that more next week. In the meantime, let's continue with this guy. So we've filled our hole in the bottom, and now we're going to put our icing on. We're not going to pipe this in between the layers. We're just going to palette knife it and smooth it over because you're going to have a lot of buttercream on the outside, but also you don't want to have too much because we'll be stacking this guy up, and also we want the layers to sit quite close together so we get a nice looking shape to our pumpkin. Like I say, if you want to, you can slice through each of these layers if you want a few more layers of buttercream in the middle, but don't forget you've got all the stuff on the outside as well. So where are we going with spoon? The easiest way is literally spoon it on and use our palette knife. Just going to put that on. All my old cake decorator friends will be going, "Oh Louise, what are you doing?" And things. But this is about making it easy for you guys as well. It's like so you can do it at home. And then we're just gonna smooth it around. Now again, I'm using the angled offset spatula just because it's easier. As you can see, I can hold it and my hands aren't in here. If I'm using something like this, which is a flat one, I've sort of not got the angle to get it onto the cake. So just by using the offset spatula, just moving it around, you might get some crumbs in it. You've just cut it, don't worry about those. But just smooth it around. And again, this is why we want that buttercream nice and light and whipped. We don't want to be having to force it as we ice across our cake. We want it to just work with us so we can move it around and manipulate it a bit more. If it's too thick, you're going to tear that cake as you smooth over. So just having that little extra milk like we put in there, it depends on how warm your butter is or where you are in the world and your climate, you might not need it. But just having it nice and smooth means I'm not also putting any pressure on this. I'm literally just gliding it over the top of my buttercream and it's smoothing off really, really lovely for me there. If you want to, you can use various smoothers. I've got bigger ones, metal ones and stuff. This is the one that we use for the dough scraper on the donuts. It's got a smooth edge as well. You can use that. This is a more flexible version as well, which is better if you're having to move things in. But you can just, if I use the more firmer one here, just pop it on, and with the Lazy Susan in this respect, I can just spin it round, and keep this in the right place. So as I've got a few crumbs in there, I've got a separate bowl to put my scrapings in that I can use again as well, or in, we'll need those. So, how are we doing? We've got this guy in here. We're now then just gonna pop our top on, lining up our lumps and bumps of our pumpkin and our bun, if depending on what you're doing, and just push down gently just to seal everything together. If it's coming outside, doesn't matter because we're going to be putting orange on there anyway, and stuff. So this guy now is ready for a ice. We are getting it. I've got cake crumbs everywhere and all sorts things. I'm going to keep my little edge of my pumpkin for later to fill in the top. I'm just going to get rid of some of these crumbs off here. Got a rubbish bowl. I'm getting more prepared as we go through. Also, just whilst we're thinking about it, I am going to be doing the Christmas stuff soon. We are going to start next week with a little sort of just a slide into Christmas baking with the chocolate orange bundt cake. But after that, we're going to be doing all sorts. And I have the list ready. I've got you a shopping list and I've got you a rundown list of the things that we're going to be doing. We've got mincemeat on there, we've got Christmas cakes, feeding a Christmas cake, stir it up Sundays coming up, all sorts. So, and then we've got some baking, we've got some desserts for Christmas, and we've got the gingerbread that's coming back again, and things. So that's all going to be coming up. If there is anything anyone wants to see, and Gina, I have not forgot you want a coffee cake. It's in there. Please do let me know. Like I say, Gina and her husband have asked for a coffee cake, and that will be coming as well with a twist for our Christmas. So do let me know. Also, if you're not in the Facebook group, the Get Baking community, do pop us in. Do pop in, have a look. You can find the link from the Facebook page, but we're going to be doing 12 days of Christmas is a lot to film, but we are going to be doing 12 cookies of Christmas, and they're going to be quick, simple ones as we run through in the lead up to Christmas, and they're going to be ones you can do with the small people as well, and things. Yeah. See, Gina said, whoop, whoop. Yeah, we're whooping, we're doing the coffee cake. I've got a good idea for that one. But yeah, if you've got any ideas, please do let me know, because I get overwhelmed with what I can bake, so it's nice to know what you guys would like. So this is our pumpkin. If you want to, if you feel that it's going to move too much, you can just skewer it with I've got one here. You can skewer it with a bamboo skewer if you want to, just to hold it into place. But this time now, I've got a variety of palette knives. We're going to be getting our buttercream on. So this all depends really how you feel comfortable doing it. When I'm now putting my buttercream on, I tend to go more with the flat spatula, just because it gives me a little bit more control of what I'm doing. You can pipe this round if you want to, if that's easier. Just depends on your own preferences. But I tend to load my spatula up and load then my cake up here. And just get it started on. Ooh, we're going to get in touch with the bowl if we're not careful. Load it up to start with. Spread it out. Don't worry about the bottom bit, we are coming to it. But as you can see, I'm going onto that join first. Like this. Don't worry about it being neat and tidy at the moment. Honestly. We are going to get into him. And this is why I prefer just to use the straight spatula here. It's just that little bit more sturdy than the angled one for this sort of thing. Oh. Got a little bit more slathering control. Okay. So I've still got a fair bit of buttercream left, which is good going. It's not finished yet. I use a smaller one than a big one. This one I would use more if I'm out doing around the outside of my cake. This one I use a smaller one. It just depends, as I've said, how you feel comfortable. My left-handedness sometimes can be a bit of a pain, so I use that. And now I'm just going to start going round the edge of my pumpkin and smoothing that layer off. Don't worry if you're getting any, like I've just got on the drops off. You can just gently, again, like we've just done with the filling, it's just, there's no pressure, absolutely no pressure applied. It's just moving that nice smooth buttercream around. And it's going to look a bit like a beach ball to start with, but that's fine. And now I can start pushing, well, not pushing, but just moving it down my pumpkin and up. Let's just get that bit there. And so this is one for doing at home. You can do it with the little ones if you want to. They can do the decorating, they can do the filling. Don't worry if you have got spatulas like here where you can see the buttercream through. This is just our first layer. And ultimately what I would do after this point is pop it in the fridge, which I will do, and then we'll make his decorations and then we'll just smooth over the rest. So just gonna, all while just gently easing it down the base. Now you noticed I started in the middle, not at the bottom. Start at the bottom, having to pull it all the way up, and there's quite a lot to cover. So by putting it mainly in the middle, it means I've got a spread from the top and a spread to the bottom, so I'll get more of an even coat. If it's all here, I'm going to get, you typically will get a thicker buttercream unless you're really spot on at the bottom, and then it'll thin out at the top. So with this guy, that's the best way I've found of him. By all means, whatever suits you best. We could just scrape a little bit off there. And we're going around the top. And remember the scrapers that I just showed you, the floppy one and the one that I used for the dough. We're going to run that round again in a moment. Let's have a look. We're going to be going with this one this time. This is slightly softer, just so I can see. Actually, I'm missing a little bit there, so let's just pop a little bit. If you need to add a little bit of icing, do so. Put it in a place where it's already on, and then just smooth it out. There we go. Just use a little bit more there. So if you're doing this with sugar paste, you want to do it with sugar paste. You do this as a crumb coat first, which means it doesn't have to be as thick. So I'm just going to take my scraper now and just give it a around the edge. Scrape that into my bowl. There we go. I don't want to get orange buttercream everywhere. So this now is, he's almost there. I'm going to put a little bit on the top, and then we're going to pop him in the fridge just for a chill whilst we make the rest of his decorations. But just going to finish off his lid. Now, if you've got lots of time, you can then start smoothing it into the into all the ridges as well. And we're going to be doing a little bit of that after we've chilled him. I just keep grabbing the buttercream out of the bowl there. There we go. Right. That's his first coat of buttercream on. And yeah, he's just smooth at the moment, and we're gonna sort that out now. So into the fridge he goes, and I'm just gonna put him at the bottom because there's plenty of room. Straight on the thing. Make sure nothing's gonna pumpkin. Anybody else do that? Puts cake in the fridge and then panics that the fridge door is going to close, or anything that it's going to close on it. Right. So then, let's just keep our cupcake. I'm just going to get rid of the crumbs on this board. So we're going to have just a quick look at the decorations then. Actually, the hardest part of it is actually icing it. The rest of it's quite good fun. So in our hole that we've got in our pumpkin, I'm just going to be adding all of these guys. Not all of them, because probably not enough room. But actually looking at the Fantastics, these are quite large. We don't want them too big. But things like our eyeballs and our monsters' brains are going to be good. Our little caramel M&Ms, our little eyeballs, and maybe some sprinkles or spiders' eggs. These are called Horrid Hundreds and Thousands. They were from Asda. I don't know if you can get them this year. I think I got them last year, and they're just little black and white ones. And things. But to make his face then, let's just have a look. Remember, this guy is made with sugar paste icing, whereas we've got the buttercream. But to make his little face then, we're going to be using sugar paste or fondant. Let's go back to our ingredients so you guys can see. And yeah, I was asked, what is sugar paste? When I ask the question, do you prefer sugar paste or buttercream? What is sugar paste? Sugar paste is usually called sugar paste here in the UK. It might be called roll-out icing or fondant icing where you're from. Or I think you can make marshmallow fondant as well. It's a bit smooth, a bit more bouncy. But we're using sugar paste. Now I mixed up some colours last night, but so this is what it is. This is just a store-bought one. You can get all sorts. And I tend to, because I've got things like the Pro Gel colours, I tend to buy it as white and then make my colours up. It gives me a lot more control of the colours that I want. I can make all sorts. And the beauty of these guys is that you can use them like you would with paints. You can mix them and combine them to make different colours, although I think they've got like 30 or different colours you can buy. However, when it comes to black, you can make your own, but I buy mine as black because this just makes your hands filthy. Trust me. So this is a pre-made black sugar paste, and you can buy this in the supermarket in the baking aisle now, in all sorts of packets. You can buy big packets, little packets, packets with lots of colours in, but you can get the black food gel. The black food gel, however, I'm going to take my watch off for this next bit. The black food gel can be quite difficult to get a real intense black. So you'll notice that this is slightly grey because I've added a little bit of white to it as well. But to get a real black, deep black, you'll need quite a bit of the colouring. You can mix it with purple as well. and the blue to get that really dark, intense colour. So the black food gels you can get in the supermarket aren't enough, and in fact, to be quite honest, I don't think the Pro Gel ones are as well. You can get things like super black, which will mean it's more intense, and you don't need to add as much, because if you do start to add too much of these gels, especially to things like sugar paste, they get really, really sticky, and they're not nice to handle. So my black is already made, and I have some green pre-made, but I was looking at this morning and it's not quite as green as I want it to be. So I'm going to actually colour a little bit more of it. I'm just going to take I'm going to not use all of it, because we can have a couple of different colours of green in there maybe. So again, it's a bit like making Play-Doh. If you've done any before, you've got small people or sugar doughs and things. I'm just going to keep those here. I've taken off a little bit for myself. Now, I watched a video of a chap that I really enjoy watching on YouTube, Barry Lewis from My Virgin Kitchen. He's down in Weston, and oh my God, the chap made, what did he make? He made the rainbow bagels that they made on Bake Off the other week. And I love watching him, and he's great, and he gets people into the kitchen and cooking and baking. But I watched him colour the bagel dough. So, oh Barry, no, there's an easier way of doing that. So I'm going to show you. If you're colouring white sugar paste, or you're colouring normal sugar paste, or you're trying to intensify colour. And if you've been on the courses, and Barbara, I found a card from you from when I left the shop yesterday when I was tidying some stuff through. It was so lovely. But if you came on the shop, I'm teaching how to colour the sugar paste. If you just put this on the surface and squeeze your colour on the top, and then try and knead it in, you're going to end up with colour all over your hands. But not just that, you're then having to force the colour into our sugar paste. And it's harder for it to disperse. So if you're working with smaller pieces like this, take your sugar paste and squeeze it out. Give it a knead first so it's nice and pliable. Don't over knead it, but flatten it out just into a round or something like that. Right, so that's our sugar paste. Then we take our colour dough. Now I'm using the bright green because I want to lift this green colour a little bit. And just add your colour there. Or if you're using the pastes, you can do it as well. Don't colour with the liquids. For your own sanity, please don't colour with the liquids. It'll make it sticky, it'll get everywhere, it's just not nice. So we've got our sugar paste, we've got our colour in the centre. And then, like I just said, we're not trying to force it in. Now we're going to try and force it from the inside out, so it should get an even disperse. So just fold over your sugar paste, so your colour is trapped in the middle, and now just start kneading it, rolling it on top of each other. So that colour is there, it's in there, trust me, it's going to come through. But if you do it like this, and it's just dispersed, you're going to get a little bit on your hands as it starts to come through, but Barry's hands were covered, they were blue. If you haven't found him, go and find him on YouTube and watch his rainbow bagels. So I'm now I've got to the point, I've started to see it come through. I can see the colour change. I can see the streaks, I don't know if the camera will pick that up. I can see the streaks of my brighter green in there. And I'm now just kneading it and kneading it together. And the thing is, I've only got a little bit on my hands now. For over 30 minutes. Come on, Miss Camera. You know, I've not got much of it on my hands, and it's in there, and I'm just, there we go. It's so much easier. Barry, Lewis, you probably don't watch this, but please, if you do, how much easier is that to do? You can use the same technique with sugar dough or with the bread dough if you're colouring it for rainbow bagels or anything like that. So I've got my brighter, slightly less grey green now going on. This is the one we're going to use. The other thing you can do is if this is too bright, what I do is I take a little bit off, I'll split it and then add some white sugar paste to it to tone it down. But then, for example, say I didn't want all of this and I wanted to tone it down still, I'd take off another ball and add my white to that, and then build my colour from there. And then this one, I just wrap in some cling film, pop in an airtight container, and that would act as like a concentrate for later. This stuff is sugar, it will keep for ages, and I can then just use that to make, I've got like a green, so this is like my concentrate, just adding it into my white sugar paste. But we've got our green here. So we are going to use the different greens. Here. And this one we're going to be using just to make our, let's have a look at our guy again. Let's have a look at him. He's got a little pumpkin stalk and some little tentacly things and some little leaves around the bottom there. And we're going to use the darker green for our stalk. So this is like going back to school and playing with Play-Doh. Just roll it. We're going to make a little cone shape. So I start off with a ball here in my hand, and then on one side, I don't know if, that way, one end. I'm not putting it, I've got a slant there, so I end up with a little cone thing. I'm just going to whack it onto the thing so it's flat, and then just pumpkin stalks are a bit twisted, so let's twist it itself. So you end up with a little bit more of a texture there. And then, depending on what you've got, if you've got cake tools, let's have a look. I forgot to get this out. And you've got cake tools like this, like a boning tool with the end here. It's like a little spike and a flat end. You can use this, or you can use a cocktail stick. But we're just going to add just gently over it on those twists some lines, give it that stalk effect there, and then just round the bottom and on across his top, just on the top, just there, just to give it a little bit of that top texture. Doesn't have to be anything exciting. And let's just smooth those there, just to give it that look. So this is our little stalk. That's quick. It's just quick and simple. Don't need to be anything fancy. You can add a few more lines in if you want to. And then with our others, with our brighter green that I want to, just want to make some of those little tendrils that we see on the pumpkin there spreading out. What time are we? We're at 11 o'clock. So take a roll of your thing, and we're just going to make, so with our hands, some little sausages through. Just roll it out, and then with your knife, just chop it up, just pinch it out at the ends. Just with your fingers, just pinch it through to make those, and you can make as many as you want to, and you can still do these when they go onto the cake. If you want to make some leaves, you can use the sugar paste cutters for those. I have some, but they're tucked away. Again, just take a little ball this time of our sugar paste, like this, and just flatten it out into a teardrop shape or a leaf shape. Pinch that one end there, just like this. So we have a little teardrop. Oh, I can't So little teardrop leaf shape, and then again with your tool or with your cocktail stick, if you want to, you can, if I do it on my hand, there, just add some leaf veins just gently on the top. There we are. And you can make some of those. So that's our green bits. I'll make some more when I finish later to finish him off. But you'll want some leaves, however many you want to put on, and some tendrils and our pumpkin stalk. So when you're not using this, just pop it into an airtight container. Now for his face, let's just have a look. He's got that bit of a Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas look going on. So again, really, really easy. You can do this just with your hands, with our black sugar paste. Now we've got 2 eyes, and again, just like we did with the leaf, I'm going to take a ball of the sugar paste. This is a little bit bigger this time, like this, and I'm just going to flatten it out into, he's got sort of these teardrop but not quite teardrop shaped eyes, or you can do round ones, or you can put a little bit of white in the middle, but he's got these sort of, it's like a teardrop, but it's got a little indent here. And as you see, I've just done this with my fingers. I'm not using any cutters or anything specialist. I'm just doing it. And when you're flattening out, if you flatten and push from the middle rather than the end, it'll encourage it to go outwards. And if you want to just thin the ends out, just do it very, very gently with your fingers. And that, I'm just doing that. If you find you've got too much, just pinch a little bit off and reshape it. But this is his eye. And from there, I can now make another one to match. And I'll just do exactly the same and use that one as a guide. And it's a pumpkin. Pumpkins don't have identical eyes. They're not twins. They say that about eyebrows, don't they? Your eyebrows shouldn't be twins. Or they're non-identical twins. But there we go. And we just, again, just using our fingers. We don't need to do anything specialist. We've got a little bit extra there, so we can pinch that off. And all I'll do is flip that over so he's got the opposite eye. There we are. For his nose, he has 2 little nostrils. Should we put the recipe back up just so we can see? It's got those 2 little nostrils. In fact, actually, the ones I've got on there are just round circles, so you can use a pastry cutter if you want to. His nostrils are little tiny teardrops, so smaller versions of the leaves that we made, just a tiny little bit. There we are. Oh, you probably can't see it, but tiny little teardrop for one nostril. Oops, you probably just see a ball of black sugar paste, and the same on this side. So, and then for his mouth, all it is a longer rolled rope of the sugar paste, and then just little bits over the top. So I won't do that until we get on to putting everything on. So we're going to pop that in there for the moment, and let's get back our thing out the fridge, and we can get finishing off. So let's just move those. All sorts of stuff going on here this morning, all sorts. So, right. Started to firm up a little bit in the fridge. That's great. So we're just going to now go over it and finish off. He won't actually, he's firm, but he's not totally firm. So we can do a little bit with it. We've still got our buttercream in here. If you need to, you might just need to give it a whip again. but this is still quite soft. So if you're still with me, well done. I'm just going to go around now and add in some extra buttercream in spots, and then we're just going to go through and carve up our shape on there afterwards. Things. I'm just putting spots of this over now. I'm not going to lather it on like we did before. Just want to cover things up where necessary. So again, using the flat palette knife. Gina, I can't touch a thing, but I can see that you're still here. Thank you. Things on there. Oops, got buttercream on the table. Naughty. If you're in the Facebook group, Gina and I were having a conversation about being good. And Gina, you've met my mum now. She's the one that popped up into reply. My mum's been making low-fat versions of my cheesecakes. So just going to smooth this extra that we've put on here, just where we need it. I was just trying to get a smooth final finish. There we go, we're nearly there. So, I'm just gonna, from the base now, just gonna do smooth out, because I don't want to be going too near the base again. So I'm just, as you can see, just pulling it upwards to finish off. Just take it around. Don't be scared to take the buttercream off as you smooth. You've got plenty, so you know you can, like you can see me doing here, I'm taking some off, and I'll just go and patch over where I need to once I've got it all to a nice level playing field. She's saying, "Oh, I didn't know that was your mum." Yes, that's my mum. Yes. Bless her, she gets very excited. I love it. I love it. I love the fact that actually she's got into the kitchen and she's baking, because it was always my granny, and my mum is doing it now. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. It's so nice. She's also got her whole knit thing on and has knitted my youngest nephew, Vinny, who's 3, a whole set of Baby Shark family. It's so incredible. I love it. Right, this is our pumpkin now. We can see I'm just going to smooth off again with our smoother, just to do a final bit, and then we're just going to make our indentations and make him look like a pumpkin. There we go. And just over the top as well. The top I'm not too worried about, because I am going to put all those tendrils, as you can see in our little guy there as well. Just pop you back to the ingredients there. Come on, pop you back to the ingredients. So before we go any further, I am just going to fill my cupcake. I've got a little bit of a spot there, but that's fine. We'll sort that out. Not fill our cupcake. I'm going to fill my pumpkin. And, oh, where to start? Pair of scissors, I think. We've got quite a big hole in there, so oh, I've just got a sniff as I opened it of these. These are the monster brains from Co-op. Look at them. Oh, one on the floor. They're like a little foamy thing. So we're going to put a few in there. You can fill it with just with Smarties if you want to. But when Ian went into the Co-op for me yesterday, they haven't got any, so we've got the caramel M&Ms. These are the crunchy ones. not the amazing caramel ones that you can get. We had in the States with the chewy caramel. We're going in with some zombie eyeballs. Oh, crikey, look at these things. These are the fun bit. This is my favourite part, filling a piñata. Yes, that's it. It's a piñata pumpkin. Thank you. Piñata. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to save some as well for decorating around my board. I'm going to put my spider's eggs in with my hundreds and thousands. Sprinkles in there. We're going to put in a couple of our crunchy eyeballs, not the zombie ones. They're all just filling in the gaps, If you didn't want to put this in, you could do like an edible slime or a marshmallow fluff. It's going with some fantastics. We're going with the crocodiles. They seem to be a bit more Halloween-y rather than the cherries. Put them in there. If Louis was here, the eldest nephew, they wouldn't even have made it that far. Let's go back in with a few more brains. That's where mine are this morning. Some more eyeballs. And top off with a few more caramel things. So I'm just going to finish off, just pushing down that one for me. I'm going to move these out of the way before I eat them all. The crunchy M&Ms are amazing though. With my cupcake then now, I'm just going to layer over the top of that here, and then we're just going to finish off. Oops, don't get your crumbs in it. I'm just going to finish off with another layer of buttercream. So I'm just taking slices of it here. I'm popping that in the top like that. And we'll just take a little bit of the buttercream that we've got. Be careful with this bit because you don't want to drag that cupcake stopper out. And just smooth it down. Oops, that bit's not quite having a happy time, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of a extra. Right. And that is when we need the angled spatula. Just to, if you just saw, I was struggling to get that buttercream to settle in place because I couldn't get the right angle with it with my spatula palette knife. So just using that offset one there. So we've got our little pumpkin. I can see I've got a few spots there, but hey, that's not too bad. Before we put our decorations on, we just want to make his pumpkin indentations. You can do that. You can leave them in the fridge, pop them in the fridge for a little bit longer, and it'll be easier to smooth it without dragging everything everywhere. But I'm just going to go through with my my tool. This is the bone tool. If you've got one of these in a cake decorator thing, this is like this little scoopy flat sort of thing. If you haven't got that, you can let it chill. You can use your clean fingers or anything that's. I'm just trying to think what I've got. Anything that's maybe like a straw, just that's smooth, that you can sort of just get those ridges in with it as well. So that I'm just going to go. A spoon is going to be too much. A spoon handle or a teaspoon is just going to be a bit too much. I can't remember where they are, but so I'm just going to guess. probably a little bit too soft still at the moment. I might want to put that in the fridge. But I'm just thinking, maybe even with my palette knife, just pulling it up. There. Just pulling it up gently. There. I think what I'm going to do is pop that in the fridge just to firm up a little bit more. It's not quite, it's smooth, but not, I'm just going to smooth that back over, not as much as I was hoping for. So let's not be too hasty and just smooth him back over there. I'm going to cheat a little bit, so I'm going to pop that back in the fridge and then put the things in. Lou has to go. Thank you, we're nearly there. See you later. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to pop him in the fridge to be able to do his grooves and stuff later. But just before we go then, I'm going to just show you. So this guy here is going to sit on the top. And then we're going to add our little tendrils, our little things all the way around him. And then I'll pick a good side for his face, because we all like to have a good side and a bad side. And I'll pop his eyes straight on and his nose there, and then I'll go in with his mouth. But this is still a little bit soft, so I'm suggesting it's probably best that it goes in the fridge, otherwise I'm going to make an absolute mess of it. And to be honest, it probably only needs about half an hour or so. But I think you guys have probably got other things to do on your Sunday morning, than wait for a pumpkin to set in the fridge. So we're gonna leave them in the fridge for a while then, and then I'll pop all these bits. There's crumbs everywhere. I'll pop all these bits on later. But that's how we make our piñata. Thank you, Gina, for the word. I totally lost it. Pumpkin. He is a chocolate bundt cake. Let's just have a look at him again. And he's covered in buttercream and sugar paste decorations. And he's got a lovely vanilla-y buttercream inside, and we've got all that buttercream over the top as well. You can make this guy like that, like this one, with the sugar paste if you want to instead. And if you can see in that one, you can see those lines. You can see those lines that I'm looking at, but we are going to just chill him for a little bit more longer, because it means that everything will be a lot smoother, and I'm not going to ruin him. It's not going to look nice, but it's just a gentle smooth over with, like I say, your tool or a spatula or a spoon or a thing, just to get that nice smooth lines in there without ruining him. That's quite easy to do. And he's also filled with all of those goodies that we've just popped in. The best bit, filling the piñata. Filling the piñata. Amita says, wow, it looks amazing. That one, lovely, is the one that I took to work a couple of years ago. You might have even been on maternity leave. But yeah, he's looking good, but he's in the fridge at the moment. And he will last as long as you want him to. You can cut him up, you can freeze him, or you can eat him all the way through. We're going to be going through the bundt cake next week. We're going to make a chocolate orange version of it, but it's the same sort of bundt that you can use for this. This is just a standard chocolate guy here, and we made our whipped vanilla buttercream as usual with our butter, our icing sugar. We've used the sugar paste gels. We've coloured some sugar paste as well without getting our hands all coloured in blues and greens or whatever colour we're having to do. And it has been quite simple. We haven't used any fancy equipment. The decorations that we've made have all been made using our hands. You can use other things if you want to as well, but he's great. You can also just use this as a standard. You don't have to make him a pumpkin. You could make him a snowball for Christmas if you wanted to. You could do something similar for Easter, or a beach ball cake, or I know Louise Timms has had one, a Death Star cake if you're into Star Wars as well. But that's it. He's in the fridge. We're we're just going to have to wait and see. You know, it's one of these things when you bake, it doesn't always necessarily can be done at one time, but he does need a little bit longer in there as well. But that's, I'm going to let you guys go because I've taken my watch off, haven't I? Where is it? It was in my pocket. I'm going to let you guys go because it's Sunday and it is still absolutely beautiful out there. So, you know, I love having you here. I love having you in the groups. I love having you on YouTube and Facebook and all sorts. I love all your ideas and your suggestions, so please do let me know anything. Like I say, Gina's really excited because we're going to be doing coffee cake for her and her husband. But let me know if there is anything you would like me to bake. We are going to be going into the start of the Christmas bakes, next week with the chocolate orange bundt cake, and I'll be popping up the shopping list and the timetable, the schedule, whatever you want to call it, the TV guide for all the Christmas bakes. So if you want to make anything, you know what we're doing. We're making mincemeat and Christmas cakes and all sorts. And the 12 days of cookies as well for Christmas is coming up in the Facebook group. So if you haven't joined, you'll find the visit group or join group on the Facebook page as well. And I will link over to it. Come and join us, come and talk to my mum and see what everybody is baking over there. But in the meantime, I'm going to let him chill. I'm going to have a chill once I've cleaned up and grab my coffee, which has once again gone stone cold. And then I'll finish him off. We'll pop some pictures up later and things. I have the donuts to pop up and finish off. It has been a mentally busy week at this end with work and other things. Fingers crossed, hopefully be able to tell you a little bit more about that soon. And we might be somewhere different. Yeah, have a wonderful Sunday. If you are in the UK and you've gone into any of the tiers, I know my family are up in Coventry, they're in tier 2, which means we probably won't be able to see them. And I've got friends that are up in Manchester as well in tier 3. So if you are in any of those, please, as always, look after yourself, look after each other and stay safe. And I will see you all again this time next week when we haven't had an hour of confusion because the clocks have gone back. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your lovely sunny Sunday. I will see you all again soon. Take care and thanks for watching. Bye for now.